What is up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk of the Ring Show. If you do not know who I am, then that means you're not subscribed. And if you're not subscribed, you're going to be missing so many great episodes because this week we were jam-packed. We're jamming. We back again today. We were here earlier. Now we're back. But I'm excited for this episode because I've seen this wrestler wrestle a gazillion times but never got to talk to him in person. So let's give a warm welcome to J.S. Hawthorn. Hello.
How's it going?
How are you?
Doing all right. Doing all right. How are you?
That's great. I'm good. So I always hop in with who or what got you into wrestling?
Oh man, why you're coming in strong. Gut
Yeah.
Foley, Mick Foley. That's probably my gut reaction. Undertaker. Um, just there's a lot. Of course, in recent news, maybe rest in peace, Terry Funk. Um, he, he was a big influence before when I was just a fan. Um, as far as like getting into pro wrestling and believing it was possible, weirdly enough, Jack Black and Nacho Libre,
Oh,
because it was one of those. It can't be that easy to get into pro wrestling and to start to be a pro wrestler. It
yeah.
turns out, especially nowadays with how open the business is and how just anyone who can buy a ring can start a school, quote unquote, or just be a bachelor. And a lot of the best like pro wrestlers now, like that I know, or my trainer started like people started in the backyard, so it's not a dig. It's just much more possible nowadays.
No, definitely, definitely. So, with that being said, who trained you or trains you?
So I have basically two trainers. One, John Patrick Trosky. He was a state-ranked amateur wrestler who then became the head trainer of the Wild Samoan Training Center under Alpha Senior. Then went on to train Mickey Rourke for the movie The Wrestler, and then do a bunch of other stunts and doubling for like Jonah Hill on Wolf of Wall Street and stuff like that. And then my other trainer was Johnny Rod's head trainer. Bad Billy Walker, Mark Davalos, he was a bouncer at a Polish national nightclub for like 20 years. So both of them having legit backgrounds of knowing how to handle a human. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm really lucky that I have such a depth of true wrestling culture through those avenues.
No, definitely, definitely. So, how long would you say you trained before you got like a legitimate match in front of a crowd?
Oh man, I started 2019 in January, and what I consider my first pro wrestling match was actually on Samu's WXW C4 in Sunbury. I think it was May 25th of that year, so I think I was about 5 months. Um, and that was against George Palco, one of my training buddies. Um, yeah, that's what I consider my first pro wrestling match. I had had other ones at Sanctuary, but that was more kind of like student, kind of just getting in the
Yeah.
ring, trying to get better. But yeah, that one was the first one that I actually went. It was to with another company.
No, yeah, yeah. So in the chat, we have my dad saying R.I.P. Bray Wyatt. I have such a crybaby. So if I start talking
Yeah,
about that, I'm gonna
yep.
cry.
I was just texting my girlfriend that I was like, I got to do a podcast in 10 minutes, trying to keep my.
Yeah. I seen it all
Yeah,
over Facebook. I'm like, I can't. I'm gonna start crying.
yeah, no, that was weirdly like I know how much of an influence Bray has been to a lot of people I know, and like subconsciously, he influenced me a lot. Where just as an like, I saw him way more as an artist than I ever did as a wrestler, and
Hmm.
with him as an artist, much more like he's a phenomenal wrestler, and
Yeah.
but his performance and artistry was always much more prominent in my eyes. So that was always my big respect for him.
No, definitely. I mean, that's so sad. I mean, I that's why I love the wrestling community, not as like not just like your own family, but like in the
Mhm.
wrestling business and the career, you make another family. So like doesn't just affect his family, but like everyone
Yeah,
worldwide.
yeah. No matter what, and but that's what you deal with a lot of, just because with anyone who can just kind of buy a ring and start their own company, it's not even about like training guys. Just say, hey, I have the money. I want to start my own promotion because I am a fan of pro wrestling, and I'm not knocking those guys. But what you run into is that people will get egos, and there's a lot of like fighting between feds and stuff like that. But it is, I guess, somewhat reassuring that in moments like these, all those kind of petty bullshit things go to the side, and we all are just
Yeah,
of our fellow performers and stuff like that. So
definitely. No, 100%. So we love Bray Wyatt. We stand him, but we're going to get off that topic before one of us starts crying. So if people don't know, are you a baby face or are you a heel?
I have more fun being a heel, but like when people like ask me about it in person, I never say that I am. I just I'm a sick sob. So like I'm not saying I don't enjoy doing horrible, mean things to people, but like if I just if I'm not trying to take liberties with guys, but like you put me in a ring and there's a barbed wire bat and there's a guy, I'm gonna take the barbed wire bat. I'm gonna hit it with the guy. I don't care. Um,
Yeah, because it's just tempting. It's sitting right there, like,
yeah,
duh.
yeah. Yeah. It's just kind of I know what the game is, and my background's in theater, so it's just like I'm always gonna try to play to the audience and get a reaction that I want, or
Yeah.
what I heard people talking about Terry Funk, like on they were talking on Busted Open about how he could read a crowd and stuff like that, and just I want to get I try to be as attuned to that as possible. Like I was at the Red Rose Rumble in Lancaster last weekend, and that was the biggest crowd I think I've wrestled in front of before. It was about I think the total number came in at 2,488 people at the baseball stadium. And with that, when the crowds get bigger, my trainer told me that it's just like it comes in waves, and you have to try and ride those waves. Now he had wrestled in front of big crowds as a baby for a time, but he was excellent heel. Both of my trainers were, and so I don't know. I definitely am considered more of a heel anywhere I go, and I think that's just on my look, the way I carry myself, that people just kind of naturally want. Like they don't go, "Oh yeah, that's a good person." They go, "Got to watch out for that guy." I like his style. He's got a good look about him, but I don't trust him. I will. He did something off about him, and they're right.
No, that's funny because on here I say all the time, like you can well, for me personally, I can always tell like if they're a heel or a face. 95% of the time, I'm right. And like when I was looking at pictures and like when I see you in like your career, I'm like, I don't know because like I can see you as both, and like that's never like I'm like no,
Well,
that's definitely a heel or a face.
I pride myself on, and like the thespian is not a gimmick. It's what I am. I'm a thespian and an actor and a pro wrestler, and those things are synonymous. And so like it's no rib or joke or gimmick when I say I can play any role. What
Yeah,
you want. I talk to whoever is the promoter, director. I don't care. It's what are you looking for? I will provide it. Whether it's in the ring, out of the ring, commentary, building the set. I don't care. I just want to be involved with the business, and so it's I I like opportunities to be babyface as a way to get better at the whole art of pro wrestling, and um, I'm kind of on that run at the Sanctuary right now, as I just captured finally beat PJ Savage for the Sanctuary Championship, and then Johnny Moran just cheated and beat me to take the belt.
mm-mm.
Yeah, that. So
I am not. I haven't said it on the podcast. It's so long, but I am not a Johnny Moran fan. I will say it 1,000 times a day. It's just a no for me.
to each their own. I got you. You know, And after last weekend, I'm not a Johnny Moran fan. So yeah.
I mean, out of everyone, like even Ricky Price versus Johnny Moran, Ricky Price, he's a vibe, but like in the ring, he could be a, you know. So, but yeah.
I got
So if a little kid came up to you at a show and was like, "I want to do exactly what you're doing," what advice would you give them?
I actually did just give this advice to, I think he was a 14-year-old. He was actually, I think he's the younger brother of one of Trotsky. So Trotsky's also my trainer. He's also a high school teacher and a college professor, and he'll get interns to help us with production and stuff like that. And so I think one of his former students' younger brothers was helping us out, just being a good kid, and he was asking about kind of what could he do to start? And I just kind of gave him the rundown of like start doing sports, start exercising and performing and things like that. He had said he was about to do play football for the first time or go out for football. And he's going into his freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
Um, and now I immediately got like the hairs on the back of my neck stood up because I was a starting varsity freshman year in high school. And that's the year that I quit because up to that point I had lost track after my fifth concussion and blown up my knees and my back and my neck. So I was already broken at that.
Yeah.
And I just said to him, I was like, guys at that age, you're now dealing with men, like legally 18-year-olds that they don't care about you. They want a scholarship or they want to go do something. Your health is not a concern to them. And I realized that very quickly in high school football that like, and they didn't care about your health then, but we were kids. And kids were starting to get big. We were
Hmm.
dealing with big refrigerators of dudes and large people. So I told them, like, hey, I wouldn't go into that. I would go in. I would follow the path. And like going back now, I wouldn't have played football. I liked football. I really enjoyed the time I did, but I would have done amateur wrestling. I would have had a much better physical ability and flexibility and cardio and everything that I need for pro wrestling now. So yeah, no, I'd say do amateur wrestling, perform, do plays, put yourself out there as much as you can. Just express yourself. Don't because all pro wrestling is you like all character and all that. It's just you turned up to 11. So whatever you are, the easiest way to do it is just kind of lift it up. So sure, some gimmicks are like wild and crazy and aren't really attached to people's reality at all, but there's a part of them that they can kind of turn the character up in that direction. So yeah, no, don't drink. It's
Or even like turn it down, because there's a lot of wrestlers, I think, that like their gimmick, let's say they're a heel, they're a douchebag, and like they say it's only in the ring, but like legitimately outside of the ring, they're the same exact way. And they say, no, I'm not, but like fans can realize it. So,
I don't know. There's you're getting into a weird line of how it used to be versus it's a weird thing
yeah.
now, and we know kayfabe is quote unquote dead and not, but there's still that we want to indulge in it, and when fans come up and call me an asshole, and I say no, I'm a whole ass. That's me. That's not me pretending. That's legit. And like
Well,
I just said that.
yeah.
So it's taking the mick. It's knowing it. I'm not a people person per se. Personally, I hate people, but like we all have a social battery. So like
Yes.
if I reach my limit, I've reached my limit. But I like being witty and snarky and smug and stuff like that. So like those parts of me that someone might find irritating is like, sorry, I'm not pretending. I'm just interacting the way I know how. So
Yeah, exactly. What
yeah,
happens? I think it depends on the wrestler, because some of them know their limits and some don't.
true, true. It's they're And I'm not gonna lie, there are a lot of people, wrestlers on the autism spectrum, and it's very hard to read social cues. A lot of it,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're not on the spectrum, it's just kind of situational awareness that you have to have.
Yeah.
If you don't have the practice in, then what are you gonna do? So it can be tough.
No, definitely, definitely. So if like you had if two okay, let me say if WWE and AEW offered you a contract at the exact same time, what one do you think you would choose?
Um, I think I'd do the WWE one.
Mm-hmm.
Simply, my heart wants the AEW because I don't watch WWE programming. Like I maybe will dip into it every so often. I'm watching almost all of, I think minus Rampage. I'm watching week to week all of AEW's content. I think what WWE can do for a career, if like they really put their money behind you and their efforts behind you, and you put your effort into them, I can go to AEW anytime after that. That
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
that makes my showing up at AEW mean something. If I mean, I could, I just saw, I think it was O'Neill, a guy who I'd just seen pushed at a local Fed up in Pennsylvania a little bit. Um, Pop in, I think they're around Kentucky, but no one knew who he was. That was like maybe his first like national exposure as just an enhancement talent, like to get squashed. Versus I get a WWE contract and I work with them and I just slowly get more exposure. And then once that contract is up and I've already gotten the international exposure that the WWE has, I can
Yeah.
either choose to resign or I can say, you know what, I want to go to Japan now, and then Japan will pay me a shitload of money because I was former WWE or things like that. So as
Mm-hmm.
them just being a boon to the rest of the career. And I'm not saying that AEW isn't wouldn't help me in that aspect, but I don't think it would be nearly on not as big. Like I give AEW time. I love love AEW as a product and all the things like that, and some of my favorite wrestlers on there. But it's just there's I'm trying to think of from a smart business point what would help me overall in the long
No, yeah. No, definitely. I think also like not just that, but like WWE is more of like a full time kind of thing. But like if you're on like AEW, you could still do the indie shows
run.
while being on TV. So I think, like you said, there you got to play it smart and like what you think is best for you.
Yeah,
But
yeah. It also falls back into a very similar vein of like theater and how I'm not part of SAG-AFTRA or part of Actors Equity. I'm not union, so when you're union, you do union gigs and stuff like that, and you can't really do non-union work. It's very just kind of similar to that.
no, yeah. So obviously, wrestling by itself is amazing. But what would you say is your favorite thing about it?
Um, hmm, that's a tough one. Um, there's just when when you get enough people that kind of this is a very kind of like metaphysics kind of explanation of each human is like a battery, and can kind of produce electricity on their own. And this is a conversation that my trainer would go much deeper into, and he would quote Shawn Michaels about referencing it in his Hall of Fame speech and stuff like that. But just when you get humans, no matter what they're watching or ingesting, when everyone's focused on the same thing and is in tune to it and is reacting to it and is on the same wavelength, it creates a certain energy that is not replicable in many cases. Sure, we have sports and other things like that that can do it, but I think what is magical about wrestling itself is that especially nowadays that we know everything is predetermined, um,
Hmm.
that people are willing to indulge like theater and just immerse themselves in it, give themselves over to the narrative, and believe in something even though they know it's fictitious, they they're willing they want to give themselves over to it and be part of that community and kind of just energize each other. And there's things that just I enjoy about being a fan. There's things I enjoy about being their performer, but it's definitely hard to quantify what one thing is.
No, yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. So now, this might be easier. What would you say is the hardest part for you?
Money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just straight out. Yeah, we're we're in a very tough economic time just anyway, but wrestling is not something that pays you until you're nationally recognized, or at least
Mhm.
some smaller companies are starting to get better at it. Um, just generally, like it's such a case by case basis, and really until you start getting decent recognition, you gotta your money comes from a combination of merch and what you ask to be paid. So, and that is it's not it doesn't get you very far at all. Um, at least where I'm at now. I don't, I'm only 4 years in, and I like to think that I have some like regional recognition, but
Yeah.
nothing that's really gonna say, oh, we should really pay this guy based on his recognition. I think my pay is more out of the work I do or the efforts I'm trying to put in to help. Um, but yeah, um, I get pay is like the gut reaction of it. Um, I think when you're not booked and your friends are, that kind of sucks. Like I've been in a couple of times where I've gone to shows just to be a fan and I hate it. Like there are times where I can sit and just be a fan and I'm okay with being a fan, but other times I just see the work in the ring and they're doing sure it's a great match and I'm enjoying the match, but I'm like that why am I standing here? That should be me. It shouldn't be I shouldn't be watching this. I should be the one being watched. So
No, yeah. And like that's something different. A lot of wrestlers usually say like the mentality kind of thing. So I kind of like how you just said that and like how you were like, yeah, that should be me in the ring. Like I like that.
yeah, well, there's literally I could there's the positives and benefits of pro wrestling are so
Mhm.
circumstantial and they vary and life gets in the way and wrestling gets in the way of life. Injuries get in the way of it and mental health, especially mental health. So
Mhm.
it's a ever changing thing that you gotta keep working on because if you don't, then you stagnate and you get lost in the sauce.
No, honestly. So like you kind of mentioned there about injuries. Have you had like any severe injuries in wrestling or have you been more on the lucky side?
No, I've been incredibly lucky as far as not things that probably should have injured me. Um, I've done a moonsault to my face that probably should have broke my neck. Um, uh, I know my back has been foobarred a couple times. Um, gotten a couple concussions, but I think I'm just mostly lucky. And now that I'm about to say it, it probably will come back to bite me.
Knock
But
on wood.
cut my teeth. I've taken a couple shots to the mouth where I'm like, oh my god, I lost some teeth. I thought I lost my ear in a match. That was scary. Um, I was like, oh god, I lost it, but it was still there. Um, my nose, I'm amazed. I'm amazed my nose has not been broken. I got a pretty prominent proboscis, but like I've taken a couple shots to the nose where I'm just like, oh well, it's broken or whatever. I've never had a nosebleed in my life, but there was one time my nose got landed on and it was bleeding. I was bleeding from my nose. Um, but Yeah, I don't know.
No, yeah, I always feel like so bad asking that on here about injuries because I'm like, well, if they're on the lucky side, let me just basically jinx
Oh
them.
yeah,
I'm like, no, knock on wood.
don't. I was born on Friday the 13th in October, so I don't. I like to think I am immune, but my life is the
Okay.
battle, not individual.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know. So you kind of mentioned about like earlier if there's barbed wire and there's a guy, obviously you're gonna hit him. So do you like those like hardcore death death style matches or is it not your thing?
Um, so like when I was definitely as like a teenager is like that aspect of the performance really kind of drew me in, and the fact that guys were really willing to go that extra mile for the fans, for the performance, and that the blood was part of their art. That really kind of spoke to me for some reason. I don't know. I guess I was just very desensitized because I was one of the earlier generations that just had access to the internet too young. But I don't know. I won't do glass and fire just because I'm hairy and unless I'm getting paid AEW, WWE money. I won't do glass and fire. But I don't know. I just it 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 brings back that part of the wrestling that has been lost as far as like okay, we know that it's predetermined, and so we know that you can fall properly and that guys don't actually punch each other and this and that. You can't really fake pulling tacks out of your skin. Um, hurts, by the way. You got to the way because if your adrenaline goes down, then you're sitting there just pulling the tacks out, and it's even more annoying. So I guess
Mhm.
that part of like the realism of it that you can't you can't fake. Um, I wouldn't say I prefer it. I wouldn't. It's not something I want to do. I don't want to just be a deathmatch guy. That's never been my go. Um, it's just something that I know I can do, and that there is a market for. That I say, hey, we need someone who can do this. I can do it. Um, it just I don't know. I can't say anything really specific about what drew me to it. It's part of wrestling, and
Yeah.
I want to not limit myself in the scope of what I can do in wrestling. I know there are things I can and can't do, so those things that I can do, sure, I want to do them to my fullest. Um, so I guess there's that.
No, yeah. And I think that's the good thing about wrestling because there's like so many different styles. There's always a show like every weekend. So
That's the best pro wrestling shows have a little bit of everything. You have
mm,
a little bit of I absolutely love shticky comedy bullshit. It's the best. Wrestling shenanigans and just completely off the cuff BS is some of my favorite stuff. And on the other hand, on the same show, I want to see some ultra violent craziness, just to off,
mhm.
just so you have a balance and
Exactly.
give me the sex appeal, give me the little people, give me the sad story, give me the heroic triumph. That's the beauty of the stories that we can tell in this modern coliseum.
No, 100%. So like obviously what like we just said, like the different styles and different types of wrestling, like are you all for like intergender wrestling or
Oh yeah, equal fights, equal rights, equal lefts and rights. Let's go. um,
exactly.
I fought um, oh god, she's gonna be so mad I can't remember her name. um, Riley and I think I've oh, and then I just because I fought Harleen in
Bro.
the Red Rose Rumble.
Mhm.
But I think I've only had two like actual matches with women, and that was Riley Crow and Adina Steele. Um, yeah, I don't. The ring, it doesn't care. We're gonna tell a story no matter who we are and what we do. Um, I really enjoyed the match with Adina, just simply in those moments of like how people know that I'm a sick, twisted individual. Where I was given Adina the Andre the Giant hair pull spot, and I look down, and there's this little circle on the ground, and I'm like, oh, that's one of her gauges for her ear. So pick her up. I know the camera's off. This was just on the fly, me beating her up. I take my finger and I hook it through her gauge and I carry her over to the
Oh,
camera just to make sure that they can see. And then I beeled her across the ring by her ear. And those are the
wow.
sort of things that where people understand that I am kind of fucked up in the head. So, sorry for the heavy. Um,
No, it's fine. I think that's cool.
but see, that's the thing of like I needed to do that. I'll give you the inside baseball on that. I told Adina, I told her before the match. I said, "You need to beat the shit out of me. I need you to hit me as hard as you can in every moment that we provide for each other. Where your hope spot or comeback, whatever it is, I need to be a bastard for them to despise me so that when you have that, because you're like literally, it was the easiest match of my life because in the area, Adina's just basically John Cena. So when you're wrestling John, it just, you have, making people hate you is just the job you have to do. And so, yeah, and it played exactly the way we needed it to play, where the more nasty and I'm not. I'm never. I'll only be sexist as a trope in the ring, if like as a condescending asshole, um,
Mhm.
slapped her ass like in front of her boyfriend, and then her boyfriend punched me a bunch. There's give and take there, so it's like I'm not. I won't patronize anyone in real life, but in the ring, I enjoy the fact that, especially in the modern age, for storytelling's sake, we're allowed to trust each other to not take things personal and be able to
Mhm.
understand what we're doing in the ring as far as creating a hero, creating a villain, and not not really pulling punches in that regard and say
Yeah.
we understand that this is performance and let us no, there, of course, there are certain things that we can and cannot do. I can't verbalize them at the moment, but I think when those moments arise, as a consensus, as a community, we go, I think that's a bit much.
Yeah.
JBL doing the Nazi salute in Germany. That's, we get it. You were trying to get heat, but no,
Mhm.
no, Joe, no. So yeah, it's definitely a case fight. But yeah, intergender all day long, twice on Tuesday.
No, definitely. I think that's also a good thing, like you said about like you got to smack her ass, and then, like the boyfriend obviously hits you. I think that's also a good thing, like having that relationship with another like performer, like as friends, and you're like, well, it's not in a weird way. It's just to get the crowd all like started and like basically a storyline. So, do you think storylines are an absolute must, or do you prefer like random matches?
Uh, I prefer storylines simply on the. I mean, like I could go back and watch whatever two of the greatest. I can go watch Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Ric Flair, and I know that that's just going to be a good match.
Yeah.
I don't have the attachment to the story that they were building over months and months in that territory from one town to another. I don't know the story that they were trying to tell. Now, but I know a story that I'm watching and following. I'm way more invested in the outcome of the people involved if I am attached to the story. Of course, I do. I love a random of like, oh man, this is a match that has never happened before that I always wanted to see. Rich
Hmm.
Rush, I got to see them wrestle for the first time against each other. mind-boggling, just phenomenal stuff. It just absolutely off the cuff, great match. We
That's amazing.
and then I go to sleep and then it's the next day and I don't really I've now scratched that itch and there's no what's next sort of thing in my head. So
Yeah.
um, versus like maybe if I'm following that one company that keeps Rich Swan going, that sort of thing. It comes down to who you're interested in. You'll try and do the research and find well what story is going on here, what story is going on.
Yeah.
But definitely story all the way.
No, okay, okay. So do you do like a specific warm up before you come out the curtain, or is it kind of like pumped and just go?
Oh man, recently I've been really upset with just how I've timed things out. I haven't really gotten to properly. Well, sometimes a couple here and there, I haven't been able to warm up the way I would like to warm up physically. Um, I don't like to go into matches cold at all. I don't know. Depends if I have to do a promo before or I have to do a promo after. That affects my prep. The type of match, who's in the match, that affects things. Um, if I know it's just if I know it's gonna be like a real long pro wrestling like grappling fest, then that's gonna have a completely different mental space than a hey, I'm one of 6 or 7 guys that's just gonna go in there and break a bunch of stuff on each other. That's a completely different animal in my brain. Um, Physically, I'd say that I had to kind of prep for. Um, but the business of the match is always going to be there as far as just kind of what are the beats, what are the intent that I have to get across, and what's the. But yeah, just stretching, so much stretching. Um, yeah, that's basically it.
No, yeah. Like I said, wrestling is such a great thing. And when I was 6 years old, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be a wrestler when I get older. And I'm like, nope. I give it all to you guys because like the moves you be doing, it's a lot like physically and mentally. And I can probably do it, but
Is that
no.
is that what changed your mind? Was the physical?
Uh no, I mean, at shows, I'm like a really loud person. So I'm like, I could transfer that loudness of being a fan into being a manager and just yell at them that way and be like, let's go, get your ass moving. What are you doing?
There you go.
So I think that's what changed my mind. But
Some
the
of the best
moves
managers
too.
know how to take a bump.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
I get it. But in the chat, we have my dad chanting your name because that's what he does best. And then he also has me chanting my name. So that's cool.
There you
Thank
go.
you. But so do you think it's going to be like an age thing, a mindset thing, or like an injury thing that caused you to like call it quits permanently?
Um, I think there's a combination of factors. It's never ever going to be a one aspect sort of thing.
Yeah.
Unless like something really upending occurs. Um, I don't know. I think I am I enjoy wrestling too much to not be involved in the industry in some capacity. And if I can't do it physically anymore, I am totally okay with transitioning to production or commentary is probably my biggest like want. Because I think my favorite commentary team of my entire wrestling like experience has been the I think like Excalibur, Shivani, and Taz. I like in that trio is just I really enjoy their commentary. It's entertaining. It's not just cut and dry. Um, it's genuine in a lot of aspects. But like I really enjoyed Vampiro and Matt Striker and Lucha Underground. Um, there's different commentary teams, and I would like to. I've done commentary a couple times, but I don't believe I've found my real commentary voice yet. Um, and I've heard some commentary in the region, and it just makes me want to die because it's just so bad. So I really want to be an asset. And then on the other hand, you have other guys that just kind of casually do it, like Anthony Blackwell and Brian Borky at Sanctuary. They're such a great team, and they don't do it quote unquote at like they have professional like recording setups and stuff like that, but
Mhm.
they're not going company to company. They are fans, and like you got the ABJ podcast, and he knows how to talk. They're genuine, and what their ability to speak, it kind of it really draws you in. So I would like to be that person at some point. Um, and unless I don't know, unless enough film and other movies that I'm making enough money and it's taking enough time that I really don't feel like wrestling is worth my time anymore. I guess maybe that would make me want to stop, but I don't think I'll ever stop being a fan.
No, yeah, like that's something I was gonna say because it's kind of funny that you mentioned Anthony Blackwell because he's actually in our chat. He goes, "Hey,
Yeah,
wrestle
well,
family,"
he's,
and then
he's he's over in England right now. He's going to be at
hmm,
the Wembley show.
yeah, and he goes, "Hawthorn is amazing and love him so much."
Love you, buddy.
And then he goes and says, "Aw, thanks,
I'm
but."
so jealous of him being over there right
I know he's such a show off, and it's like so funny that you mentioned him because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna mention him too, about like the whole commentary thing because he started his podcast, and I like at that moment like he interviewed me at one of the shows. I was like, hold up, wait a minute, I could do that, and like he's what got me actually like more into like the podcasting thing, so I could give him
now.
thanks on that. But now seeing him in freaking England, I'm like freaking show off. Like he just ditched us. He's like, I'm not taking nobody. I'm not. Nope, I'm out of here.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Well, yeah.
Just sack off.
So, do you have merch? And if so, where can people purchase it at?
Yeah, I used to have it. I think it was what was it, Teespring store, but I think that closed. But my mostly the only place I really have online merch available is on Pro Wrestling Tees. You just put in JS Hawthorne, you'll find me there. I should start up another online store for because I carry around with me 8x10s and buttons and stuff like that. But my old roommate, I just sent him the PNG of my transparent thespian logo, and he's gonna put it on a onesie for his newborn.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, Pro Wrestling Tees is the only spot I have up right now for my merch. Besides that, just find me in person. I'll get you some stuff.
Okay, okay. And so, obviously, you've wrestled a variety of places. Do you have like a certain venue that you have wrestled in? And you're like, I really like this place, and I will wrestle here any opportunity I get.
Sanctuary, of course, because it's the best. Um, yeah, literally, it's like top to bottom. That was I was so spoiled when I started training there, and I went other places, and I was just like, huh, hmm, hmm. And I kind of got not a rude awakening, but it was just kind of a okay. So this is what the actual pro wrestling indies are like. Sanctuary is a complete outlier from that because we're stunts,
Yeah.
and also we're a stagnant building, not a mobile shenanigans show.
Hmm.
Um, I think probably as of late, just that's kind of really gotten me going. Is I really like the environment at Three Legacies at the what's it called? I think it's the Brightside Center, where they have like their regular kind of monthly shows.
Yeah.
It's just those crowds. I've never it's a very few times have I found a crowd that consistently invested and deafeningly loud stuffed into that little gym. They're just packed in there, and we're talking like in excess of 400, 500 people every time, and they are loud, and that's just that helps so much, and that's really cool. As far as like straight venues, um, I've done a couple bar shows that have been super cool. The Invictus show that we did at the Bronx Brewery, not the outside one, but when we were inside the brewery, that was pretty cool. I'm a slut for um, like King of. You ever play King of Fighters or like Tekken or Street Fighter, whatever
Hmm.
fighting games? That because they have the backdrop and scene where you're at. That means so much to me of like the visual of pro wrestling. And so any place I go and travel, like if you ever go to Longwood Gardens or a place like that, or just different place, I'm like, put a wrestling ring there. We'll put one right there. Oh, fans could go right there. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, it's I'm literally where I go. I'm just like, yeah, I could put a wrestling ring right there. This would be a sick ass venue. There's a beer garden right there. Perfect. I'm trying to think of any other like really cool ones that I wasn't expecting. Um, I don't know. We just did a stunt show where we just took some mats and threw it behind a yeah, a nursing home, and we just did a stunt show for a bunch of dementia patients and Alzheimer's and people
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
wherever you can get it done.
No, definitely. So, like, with that being said, like, those are all great places, but do you have like one specific place that you want to wrestle in?
Like one specific place I want to wrestle in.
Like, a lot of
I'm
people
not.
say, like, Madison Square Garden, New
Well,
Japan.
well, here's the one fun thing was like when I wrestled for Outbreak, which is now AXW, in the Hamburg Fieldhouse. I didn't know that was where. Well, I'd known that it was an old WWF stomping ground or WWF and all that. I knew but I didn't realize until a couple years ago that that was where Piper broke the coconut over Snuka's head.
Hmm.
Oh, oh, that's so cool. Um, Places I want to wrestle in, venues. I think just anywhere that would have just a really cool backdrop or just scene, like because we have drones now and we can just kind of like we can see the backdrop. So like this is very like I don't know if you know Kinnikuman or Ultimate Muscle, but I just remember from the video game they basically had a ring built up on this platform and the backdrop was the Grand Canyon. It's like that.
Oh,
I can't give you any like solid specific venues. I would just have to see it. Like I
yeah.
like a year ago I saw this picture of a wrestling ring in front of this Japanese shrine and I was like, that I want to do that. I always love the idea of like a ring floating on a lake or stuff like that. That's always tickled me. I found that really entertaining. You do like, oh man, you do like Lake Tahoe or whenever they do those big lake weekends or whatever the hell, and
Hmm.
when they're little
Yeah.
teams and crap. You put a ring in the middle of that, and you just have thousands of people on floaties and stuff. Oh, that'd just be a cool visual.
No,
Um,
I definitely agree with that. Like, I always see ones like the ring, like by a lake or by a beach. I'm like,
yep,
oh my God, you could just go to the beach and see wrestling. Like, that's a
yep.
dream vacation right
Oh,
there.
I think I can answer your question, and I'm sad now that I think about it because it's never going to happen. The showboat, because I think what I last heard is that they turned the carousel room into like another mini golf course or whatever the hell that they're not going to be running boxing or wrestling out of the carousel room anymore. So that makes me sad. Um, but then I don't know, Kirk and Hall. That's always a big to do. Um, yeah, just check all the boxes for all the famous places. I'm not going to
Yeah.
complain about wrestling there.
Yeah, like you'd be like, okay, I wrestled there, check it off. Okay, I could wrestle there, I'm gonna wrestle there, and then you wrestle there and check that off. So it's really cool. And like that's like I said, that's the cool thing about wrestling because there's always so many shows and like you could be like, oh well, I never knew I was gonna be wrestling in a backyard and then end up wrestling there. And feel like, it's cool. I'm here.
Yeah.
So
Well, I
it's
mean,
cool.
Warren Cassidy, he was a yarder. My trainer helped polish him up back when he first started. So you never know. Now he's gonna
No,
be
definitely.
wrestling in fucking Wembley Stadium. So
But it's all you take it day by day, process by process, and you only get better. So like we look at you now in 2023, you look at you for who knows in like 3 years you might be on like a big show or a big timer.
Trying.
But that is all I have. Lastly, importantly though, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, you can do Instagram, JS Hawthorn. If you want who I am as a real person, just Kilt Wizard 72. Um, you'll find Facebook, JS Hawthorn. Twitter, you should find, I think, at Thespian Hawthorn. You'll just keep putting Hawthorn or Thespian in somewhere. You'll find me on all those. I don't have a specific Twitter for my wrestling, or I mean, not a Twitter, a Snapchat, so it's not really a thing. TikTok, Kilt Wizard 72. That's a mix of just me being me and then and gimmick stuff. Yeah, that's what I got.
It's cool. Okay. And also, what upcoming shows will you be at and like where can they find you and your merch?
Sure. I'll be. Crap! I should have looked at my calendar right before this. I know at the beginning of September I will be at the Sanctuary Stunt Studio again in Hazleton. And then in that same weekend, I will be up in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre area for, I think we're going to be back at the Troop Civic Center for Smash Mountain, for Smash Master Pro Wrestling. Um, I'll be back September 9th at, I think that's Kalahari they do it at. There's going to be Colossal Con, Frontier Wrestling. Have you ever been to a convention pro wrestling show?
No.
I can't believe I totally forgot. You asked, oh, what's the coolest thing? Let me tell you about how much fun I had on this show last year, and I had no business having as much fun as I did. Basically, it's just, hey, it's here's an anime convention, here's a pro wrestling show. What would I do? Let's see. I'm gonna be Hercule from Dragon Ball Z because he's basically just the pro wrestling guy in that show.
Yeah.
But they wanted me to be a heel in that. I'm like, well, Hercule's not a heel, so okay, I'll just my mustache is shaved like Hercule's, or okay, I'll just be Jake the Snake. So first off, I open the show with a promo of Jake as Jake the Snake Hawthorne. So I do that whole bit.
Yeah.
I call them a bunch of weeboos and wimps. Then I turned into Hercule to make the save for guys who are getting beat up. Then I turned back into Jake the Snake to do the match I was actually supposed to do. Then I turned back into Hercule to do a battle royal thing on that show. And then I was just Hercule for the rest of the day. So that's another thing of like places you really like enjoy wrestling. Anime conventions, because anime fan, all pro wrestling is it's anime, it's theater, it's all the same
Yeah.
protagonist, antagonist, big fights and blah blah blah, shonen stuff. So I love convention fans, and I'm super pumped. I'm worried because I don't know what my cosplay is going to be this year, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
I've already thrown out the pieces I was using for the so I gotta start from scratch, and I gotta get on that. But yeah, Frontier September 9th. I'll be back at Three Legacies next month for the show that they'll have Al Snow on. Um, yeah, those are the ones that are coming up in my head right now. Um, so that's Lancaster, Hazleton, Scranton area, and I would like to hopefully just travel as much as I can out of state, wherever I can, do all the stuff.
No, 100%. No, that wrestling convention thing that you mentioned, that sounds really cool. I think I gotta get myself to one of them shows. Be like, yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, and just another thing that just popped in my head about just kind of like having an audience slash like being in the backyard and the era we live in now, especially because of social media and stuff like that, and building up an audience. Grimm's Toy Show. That's just in the backyard there. So it's like you never know what opportunities are kind of out there unless you kind of go and explore. And I have a lot of good matches. I've had a lot of good matches over there now, and a lot of good moments. And that's like a minimum of 20,000 views per like episode appearance on. So like you're getting more exposure on about
Hmm.
than you are for whatever big company sort of thing. So you have to kind of play it by ear and do the business that you want to do. So you never know what opportunities kind of are out there.
No, definitely. I think that also contributes, like the Grimm's toy. I think that contributes so much to that as well. So even if you're not working on shows as much as you'd like, if you get onto Grimm's, it'll be like, well, there you still get the fame that you need. So it's really
Yeah, I was
cool.
gonna say MJF, like he was on Grimm's Toy Shows, like Anthony Bowens had passed through the sanctuary years ago. Yeah, I have to talk to John about the list of people that have actually come through the doors at the sanctuary. It's just like it's absolutely crazy. Um, so you never know. You
No,
never know who
yeah.
you run into in pro wrestling. I met Melina. She just showed up the one night. So it's
Wow.
yeah, I know. It's crazy.
No, yeah.
I'm a lucky guy. Okay.
No, definitely. Well, thank you so much for coming on, guys. Please, please, please click the link down below. Give him a follow. Make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all that fun stuff because it doesn't cost you nothing. And go buy yourself some merch because, like he said, it helps, obviously. And you're gonna be a fan of him, so go for it. Just buy the merch.
Exactly.
Well, you all have a great night, and thank you so much. Until next time, bye, guys.